Commissioners to order. December the 19th, I believe it is. I invite you to stand. I'll lead us in prayer, and then Mr. Gordon will lead us in the pledge. Shall we pray? Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, as we take these moments to seek your blessing and your direction in the lives of our community, our families, us as individuals, we pray that you will bless and direct us in all that we do. We ask for safety. We ask for protection as we go through possibly some winter storm this next week. Thank you for that protection. But we do pray again for wisdom as we do the business of this community. And we also say a special thank you today, Father, for the service of Mike Burton, for all that he has done, not only in the commissioner's office, but the auditor's office, to make this community a positive place. Bless him and his family. And we'll thank you for that special anointing in his life, in all of our lives, as we celebrate your advent on earth. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Right, in the first section, we have claims, minutes, payroll. I believe we're going to pass on minutes today. And we have December 12 pre-approval and some single pre-approvals that we'll put together, I believe. The 12/12 invoice edit reports, general batch, $374,489.45. Other batch, $36,801.20. Highway batch, $35,532.89 for a grand total of those invoice edit reports of $446,823.54. Then we also had a single pre-approval for Spitzer, Harriman, Stevens, Holderreed, Connor, Persinger. That was pre-approved on the 15th in the amount of $3,200. Those are our pre-approvals, and we would need a motion to ratify.
A motion to ratify.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Wright. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, it is carried. Now, with regard to our payroll, our claims for the day, 12/19, and the general invoice edit report would be $384,020.68. Other batch, $71,589.05. Highway, $534,066.81 for a grand total. Did I miss one? What did I say? 81, sorry. It's dyslexic.
I got you.
18 cents for a grand total of $989,675.91. I got that at that time. All right. We would need a motion to approve those invoice edit reports.
Motion to approve.
And second.
Motion, Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Wright. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, it is carried. And with regard to payroll number 25, a pre-approval was given on December 6th. Gross amount of $529,132.37. That was paid out December 9th. So with the pre-approval, I would need a motion to ratify the pre-approval.
A motion to ratify the pre-approval.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Wright. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. That cares for our claims and payroll, I believe. And we will move to receiving the monthly report of the clerk of courts, month ending 11/30/22. Need a motion to receive.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Motion to receive from Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Wright. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is carried. All right, now we'll go to communications and board updates, and we'll start with our auditor and move around the room. Anything, Jim, that,
I don't think so. I think I'll pass to the next person.
all right? Other elected officials, I see Tiffany's gonna be with us in a little bit. Brad, you're a department head, so
Yes, I just came down. I had 3 claims that didn't get paid last week because of being ill. Both me and my assistant. I was just asked that those 3 be paid for this year with our claims.
and this will be the time to have it. Didn't want to do a pre-approval at 9:30 and then have to go through another process. Trying to pull up that email that has the exact amounts.
It was 102.50 to Ebenezer's. Staples is 339.98, and Hoosier Jiffy Print is $36.
Those are the 3 the invoices that he's asking to be paid yet on this year's budget, so.
Like I said, I was out sick. Today's my first day back. Wasn't able to make the deadline of the 15th last Thursday due to being ill.
I have to ask one question. You have money in your account?
Yes, I do that. Yeah.
Very good.
Right, I would be happy to entertain a motion to approve these requests for payment.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and pay these 3 invoices.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Wright, to pay the Staples, the Hoosier Jiffy Print, and Ebenezer's invoices as presented, and Mr. Burton seconded that. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Is my office staff aware of this at this point?
I'm sorry.
Have you had conversation with my office staff about those yet?
I did with Angie last week, email, so she knows that I do have 3 to turn in.
Very good.
So, thank you.
all right. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Other elected officials? The man is going to tell us about a snowstorm. Come on, Bob.
Good morning. So yeah, we're working on a couple things here yet. Quickly though, just an update on COVID. The weekend numbers were 23 for the weekend, 7, 14, and 2 today. Overall for the month, we're up just a little bit. So Dr. Moore was working, trying to get a report out of the hospital this morning. We haven't seen that yet. They have been pretty busy, besides the uptick in flu and RSV, which I think seems to be leveling off. Like everybody else, they have staffing issues. So hospital is not the best way, but they are maintaining and able to care for everybody at this point. So that's what we look for. And then there is the potential for a winter storm. We've been in contact with National Weather Service this morning. Just got off the phone with I&M. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that we identify any potential shelters that might open up, particularly through the cold snap. That's always a priority for us and for I&M to keep power on to those facilities. So we're working through that, and probably we'll get more updates probably later today. They usually do that twice a day till we get something starts happening, and it might be more frequent.
So your best estimate on the forecast?
It is,
I want to hear this. I just,
I&M, and they usually, honestly, they tend to be probably the most accurate. Looks like most of that's going to go north of us. So, but there again, it impacts them, which there again, the residual effect impacts us because if they send resources up north, stuff that we don't have available to us. So we watch that. But we've been in contact. They do a super job with keeping us in the loop.
Questions for you, Make Director?
Final note on the COVID. I don't have the information with me, but the health department will cease the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, well, actually through the week, testing on site here. that will end, late next week.
Next week is it? So,
Yes.
so how are we going to get that information out to the general public?
We have pushed that out through all of our outlets.
Okay.
Let the schools know and all that. That's usually one of the bigger ones that we send folks.
Okay.
So we're trying to push that out through all the news media and then our Facebooks and all our other means we communicate.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other elected officials or department heads to report?
Can I talk to you a little bit about the opiate settlement?
Happy to have
Oh,
you
yeah.
talk to us about the opiate settlement.
All right. Very good. Judge Mark Spitzer, Grant Circuit Court, also chairing our local justice reinvestment advisory council. As you may know, there's a settlement of opioid funds that is on its way to us and if not yet received. Have you heard anything yet, Jim?
I believe there is some that has been received. I can't give you the amount, but
Okay.
I believe we did get something last week.
Okay, so, and then there is another settlement as well that may be on the horizon too, but at least with regards to these funds, we anticipate receiving just under $2 million over a pretty significant period of time, about 18 years, kind of front-loaded. A significant amount of it is front-loaded. So we have been expecting this for some time, and they've been telling us that this is coming. And so we have a subcommittee of our Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council that's been talking about sort of how best to use those funds and give a recommendation on that. There's a small portion of it that will be unrestricted. The rest of it will be restricted and must be used for the outlined purposes. And basically that's related to issues that have arisen because of the opiate crisis. And so what that means is that we have to use it for those purposes. There'll be a reporting requirement to the state for that. The Association of Counties, I was spoken a couple of times with Dave Bottorff on that, and they're recommending that all of the funds be used for those purposes. And I think that he's indicated that most counties are going to be doing that. So it's going to be our recommendation as well that all of those funds be used for those purposes. So our approach when we looked at proposed purposes was to find something that we could implement that has been proven effective with regards to that, that we could sustain or expand something that we already have some confidence in that's operational, that can work. And so in connection with that, we looked at, we had a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant for our drug court that had a couple of things. One thing was added an additional probation case manager in our drug court that would expand our capacity to 70 in the drug court from 55. So a grant currently supports that position. That grant will be expiring next year. What we'd like to do is make that, our idea is to make that sustainable for a longer period of time. In terms of working with the purposes of the settlement funds, drug court is our most intensive opiate intervention. And so, it fits right in with those purposes that are intended by receipt of those funds. The second thing that we did with that grant was we contracted with a treatment coordinator, and this is someone who would connect people with treatment interventions. So things that we're talking about are inpatient treatment, sober living facility, residential treatment. Normally our programs will place people in outpatient, but sometimes people need more than that. And so there are through the Healthy Indiana program and also something called Recovery Works, there are funds to put them if they have the need into more intensive services, but you have to make those arrangements. You have to arrange transportation to get them safely there. You have to arrange transportation back. You have to communicate with them while they're there. You have to then get the case plan from the facility implemented. So there's a lot of sort of work that's associated with that. We had, through our drug court grant, contracted with someone to do that for people in drug court. It's worked really well. What we'd like to do is expand that to the other problem-solving courts as well as regular probation, because we have those same needs in the other problem-solving courts and probation. So we had these two interventions then that we've used. We're evaluating them with a partnership from Indiana Wesleyan through the grant. It was a 3-year grant. And so we've studied them. We see them in practice. They're demonstrated effective. And our idea is let's make these, with these opiate funds that are coming in over a period of time, let's make these permanent, sustainable positions. So that's going to be sort of our approach at this point. And so the recommendation would be, first of all, sustain that probation officer dedicated position for drug court. Support that fully with the initial opioid funds, and then over time there would need to be a county match as those funds decrease over time. But we would suggesting we should plan for that. Then also we would expand from a contractual position to a permanent position, that treatment coordinator, and support that with the opioid fund as well. Extend it to all the problem-solving courts, to regular probation, have the ability to do that. The other thing that treatment coordinator has done is coordinated events for the recovery community and for the alumni group. And so really sort of supporting people even after they finish our problem-solving course to continue in their recovery. So that's going to be our recommendation at this point. Wanted to give you guys a heads up that that's kind of what we're thinking about. Had some conversations with Mark and with Justin in terms of how we sort of present that to the bodies that need to hear about it and make that happen, and then obviously we'd like to coordinate with other units of government as well who are also receiving. So Marion City is getting some of these funds, Gastonia is getting some of these funds, and they've shown some interest in possibly coordinating with some other ideas that we have as well, to have sort of a countywide coordinated response to the opiate issue. Then obviously the other good news is that there may be some more funds going as they're negotiating now, I believe, with CVS and with Walgreens, and there's some additional funds that may come as well. That may impact whether or not there's, a county match eventually for these positions. It may mean we can do some other things too that we've got some ideas for as well. So happy to, I know I threw a lot at you, but happy to answer any questions that you might have about kind of, our suggested approach for these funds.
And so the fund that kind of new to this.
Mhm.
So the funds coming in
Uh-huh.
comes into the count of,
We have 2 funds that are going to be set up. One is for restricted, one is for non-restricted. And I can say that some of that money was received last week. I believe, don't know the amount yet, but
Yeah.
obviously we'll have to go through the appropriation process, through the recommendations in the bodies, including you and the council, to get that done, I think.
and so the council will hear your presentation as well.
They will, yeah. Mhm.
One of the assumptions that Indiana Association of Counties, as this opioid settlement money has been coming in, is much like the ARPA money, it looks like the commissioners probably are the ones that designate where the direction is, and then at the appropriate time, the council does the appropriations for those expenses. So we're still waiting on the fine details of how that's going to be directed, but that's the assumption, that we will set a resolution in motion to move something forward.
Okay. Do you need any commissioner to sit on any meetings or anything like that?
Yeah, and I think, well, so Mark has been attending the Justice Reinvestment Advisory, Local Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council meeting. We've got another one coming in January, so that's going to be kind of an important meeting. And so if Commissioner Bardsley's not available, a designee commissioner coming in and sitting in, I think would be great. And I don't know the exact date that is off the top of my head, but I can, you may have that on your calendar.
Trying to look real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
It's
if you need it.
mid-January on a Tuesday, I believe, so. But at any rate, yeah, so we want to obviously continue those discussions. The 2 positions that we've talked about are currently grant funded now, so it's not like we have the ability, ideally we'd like to kind of get it squared away, maybe, early on in 2023, so that we have a plan for moving beyond when the grant funds will run out. It's kind of what we're looking at.
Not seeing that right now.
Okay. We'll make sure we have somebody there.
Okay, all right, absolutely. Any other questions with regards to this? Just want to make sure you guys were aware of what we were looking at and working on, what our recommendation is likely to be.
Just to let you know, I'm going to send you an email sometime this week. I've had somebody just yesterday actually come up to me and say they've got some ideas about opioid treatment. So
Okay.
it'd be interesting to dialogue with them.
Happy to do that. Happy to do that. The other real brief thing is thank you for the work that's being done over at the courthouse. It was pretty raggedy over there, and Brad's doing an excellent job with the painting. The bad news, as I shared with Justin, is that makes the flooring look pretty crappy at this point.
Here we go.
But that's okay.
Get
It's a
started.
process. Yeah, it's a process. We get it. And so, but the paint's looking really good, and so thank you for that. It was much needed. We look forward to getting it all finished. I think it'll look much better. So really appreciate that, guys.
I appreciated the tour that we were given. Just kind of pick up everything. You did have needs, so that was good.
Absolutely great. And Justin's been great to work
Yep.
with. It's difficult because that painting and stuff has to happen while we're operating, and so he's done a real good job of communicating with us too. So he's coachable. Appreciate it. Yeah, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Judge. All right, any other elected officials or special committees reporting right now? Let's move on to IT report. Marcus is in the room. Is he asking for money? Is he smiling?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the holidays, right? Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
All right, so I have 3 items with me today. The first one is from Keller and Schroeder. So at the last meeting, I mentioned how we were going to be changing our current antivirus over from Palo Alto Cortex to SentinelOne. So that's what this quote's for right here. So for SentinelOne, for the client managed option, it's just an annual bill. For the breakdown on that, it's $32,684 for that piece, but it also includes another line for Keller Schroeder for them to work with us to help deploy it and make sure it's set up and that we're compliant with what the state's wanting and all that good stuff. So, and that amount for their work is $4,955. So the total amount is $37,639. And this would be coming out next year out of my security budget.
What was the name of the vendor?
Keller Schroeder.
You're asking for authority to implement.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep, just basically switching over and I'm taking the funds I'd used for my antivirus before, and just moving them towards this.
Was there a difference in price there?
It was like a couple thousand. I don't know if I brought that down with this,
That's right.
but it was like a couple thousand difference. Just with everything going up and things like that. This, with it only being a couple $1,000s difference, I went ahead and moved on it with all the extra features we get out of it. So.
I appreciate Marcus's lead on the antivirus stuff. I mean, it's, I mean, the utility was attacked. I mean, we got to make sure that we keep our stuff secure and safe. I appreciate you guys working hard on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're ready for a motion.
You're ready to make a motion? That's
I would make a motion that we approve those expenditures.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Wright, to make approval for the expenditures to Keller and Schroeder. I'm just going to say it in the amount of $37,639.
Sounds good.
And Mr. Burton has seconded that. Any other discussion or questions, Joe? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
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 All right. Yep, second item.
He's
is-
still smiling.
Oh, yeah.
He's still laughing.
Yep, we're still asking. That's why I'm hoping the holidays, soften the blow a little bit. Yeah, so the second item is, basically, we're looking to, switch our backup software from, Veeam over to Acronis. As you guys know, we're currently in the middle of, revamping our data center, and with that, we're going over to a different type of, they call it a hypervisor system. So we're going from VMware to Scale. So with that, I was told, it'd be recommended to upgrade our backup software to Acronis. And I got a quote from the DSN group. They're the ones that are currently helping us with our data center upgrade and with all that stuff. And they gave me a quote in the amount of $26,352.27. And that includes work to help us install it and set it up and verify it's tested and working and stuff. And it also includes training. He did give me a little sheet here too. So that way they would train us on it, shows how to use it, everything like that. And this is also for a 5-year deal. Currently with Veeam, we've been paying on it year to year. And the bill on that annually has been $9,268.96. So over the course of 5 years, we'd be saving, I think it was like $19,992.53. So.
You answered a question that I was going to ask, so
Yep.
you're doing well.
Yeah, I figured that would
Don't
be,
want that someplace else.
so. Yeah, so we'd be saving money, over the course of 5 years as well, since we're doing a 5-year deal.
And the training that would be included in that, is that just for you three?
Yeah, it's for us from IT, so basically only IT staff would be able to access the software and stuff.
Okay.
Is there any need for any other departments to access it besides IT?
I wouldn't think so. I know it is, I know some of it is capable where like some users can restore files like through a web portal. But I mean, for the most part, anytime something goes wrong, like they usually call us and want us to do it. So because I know with our current software, we can do that, but.
I'm just asking it because I know that we're very high tech on the dispatch area, and I didn't know if that might be a department that would use that outside of your scope or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, just because most people, it's like they don't tend to want to mess with that sort of thing too much. They prefer us to kind of deal with it. And, if we need to restore something, they just want to know it's there.
And limited access is probably better, correct?
Yeah, because you always run the risk of somebody getting access to the backups and, encrypting your backups. So you don't want that. So.
He's asking to spend money, but he's saving us.
Saving us money, that's what I heard. Chair, ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
I would make a motion that we approve his request for DSM Group of $26,352.27 for a 5-year, saving us $19,000.
Yes. Mhm. Yep.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Bright, second, Mr. Burton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
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 Aye, it is carried.
Yep. All right. So the last time I got, there's no spending money or anything. So it's basically we're currently working with the state on moving towards a IN.gov domain. So as you're all aware of, and basically, I'm in the process of getting that done. However, they are needing agency executive to fill out a form. So basically, the agency executive has to be an elected or appointed position in the government's agency. So, clerk, treasurer, auditor, county commissioners, town council board, township trustee is what they have. So I would just need approval from you guys, and then I'd be able to work with Justin or get that filled out. Because basically you go online and you fill it out, then they email you the form. Then I take that form, then I fill our stuff out for the in.gov domain, and I attach it to that, and then I submit it. Then we can get the ball rolling.
General rule on something like that, we usually approve and then allow the president to sign on behalf of the board of commissioners. Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second. With the president's.
Yes.
Very good. All right, we have a motion with support. Any other discussion or questions for Marcus? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. It is carried. That didn't even cost us money.
Nope, that did.
Well done.
No, that's not too bad. All right, like I said, the only other thing I have in regards to updates, the courthouse did get pushed back one day for the, camera installation. I think I CC'd you all in on that email, so, the courthouse, that project should be starting tomorrow, hopefully. Then the other thing was I'm, meeting with the state today at 2 on a Zoom call, and we're gonna be, the state's able to provide us with email filtering for Office 365. It's no cost or anything like that, so that's something I'm looking to pursue, just to give us more protection and save us money. So
Very good. That'll save us money.
that's it.
Like that.
Well, he keeps on talking about saving so we can spend more.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
You know, that's the way we gotta do it sometimes. So, hey, thanks again, gentlemen, and thanks again, Mike, for
Yeah.
your time. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Highway. You weren't smiling that much when you stood up.
Well, I'm not gonna spend any money right now.
There you go.
I'm gonna try to keep away from markets. So, just to update you, we did receive our $45,000 check from the federal government on the railroad crossing last month, so we did get that receipted back in. That was a reimbursement from the federal government on the railroad grant. January 9th, I'm supposed to go, or I'm sorry, 19th, I'm supposed to go to NDOT on Bridge 712 Branson Street for the federal application and try to win them over to get a federal aid job. So that's
Remind me, you were saying you thought that may be a $7 million job?
over $7 million.
Over $7 million.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so we'll go see what we can do, see if we can get that. Get it selected on that, so. This past weekend, we did go out and put some material down on Saturday and Sunday, talking about the road conditions and et cetera. We'll be all ready for this weekend, and we've got everything, we'll have everything loaded and ready for whatever weather Bobby sends our way, so, working on that, so. Update you on our building, our pole barn building out the highway. I went ahead and paid for the concrete this year. I'm gonna wait till spring and probably get a contractor to do the pour. Probably save us a little money so they don't have to blanket it and everything else. But we did get the concrete paid for. So I've got most of that already covered, so at least that'll be done for this year. We did get the bridge repair work done on 38th Street or 200 South over the river, and we did get the one on Branson, the patch job done on it to make it through the years. Hopefully that we get selected. The next thing I did have to bring up is, I've been working the last few months on a small structure inventory. The last time we had it done was in 2012, I believe. A company that did it, I don't know if they're still in business, to be honest with you. They went around, we have over 526 small structures. And that's anything from 36-inch diameter pipe to the bridge length. We've got over 530 of those on inventory right now. So I've been working with a couple consulting firms to find out how much it would cost to do inspection on them again. We're supposed to do them like every 5 to 6 years. The only thing bad is the state don't reimburse us like they do bridge inspections. So it's pretty much a full on our own thing. So what I'd like to do is, I have a contractor, or I'm sorry, a consulting firm that I'd like to use to do that. And the name of it is USI Consultants. And, for the whole structure, small inventory is, $165,000. And then if they have to do a study, like on some of the small structures that have beams or concrete, they kind of do a load rating on there. That might be additional 65,000, so not to exceed $200,000 for this agreement. And like I said, I would like to use them. This will all be done, put on the web page for anybody that the public wants to look at it or anything like that. But I feel like we need to get caught up on this. It's been a while since we've done it. So,
And the big question, do you have money in your account?
well, I'll probably have to do is transfer some money next year or see where my budget is on additional for the bridge fund. That's where it will come out of. So one way or the other, I'll make sure I'll have to get it done. But try to give you all the information that I needed.
I thought you were trying to see if you had money in
No,
your account.
no, no. But like I said, it's been since 2012. We've changed a lot of structures, and this report will be basically like the bridge inspection, Mark, kind of, it'll have what they recommend to do first and priority wise. And so, yeah, just making sure that 165,000 on the small structure inspection, and then 35,000 on load rating and data processing. And that'll just depend on if it's not a pipe or anything like that. So we might not have to do that on all of them, but some of them we might have to.
So they're going to set a priority, right?
Right.
Will they give us a little bit of an idea on years left?
Right. They'll kind of do like the bridge inspection. They'll have years left of service plus how much they estimate to replace that structure, kind of a ballpark.
We seem to be doing this, looking at about every 10 years. Is that sufficient, or do we need to reduce that down and look a little bit more often at it?
I think the last report that we did, I think was efficient to make sure that we had, because we got a lot of those caught up that were bad. And prior to that, it'd been a lot longer than that. So I think if we can kind of keep on a 10 to 12 year rotation and do what we need to do to make sure that when we do the 10th year that we're pretty well caught up on a lot of our small structures, I think we're doing. And a lot of them we've been changing to like aluminum boxes and stuff like that. That's got a 75-year life and stuff like that. So I think that's helping out.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
So you're looking for,
We would
we would need to do a motion to accept a contract with USI, is that correct? Not to exceed $200,000.
Right.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Right. Mr. Wright has made that motion not to exceed with USI, and Ms. Burton has seconded that. Any other discussion, questions, gentlemen? Hearing none. All those in favor would say aye.
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 Aye, it's carried.
I'll get your signatures later, if that's all right. And I would like to know if it'd be all right if we set up the fuel and stone bid for 2023. I don't know if you want to do it January 3rd or the 17th, whatever works for you gentlemen.
I would probably say the second meeting of the year, because we are going to have to also look at a Board of Finance meeting during the month of January. We'll set that up at the organizational meeting when we're going to do that, but that would give us,
Okay.
the second would probably be the best one.
Okay.
Bids.
All right, I'll set it up for the 17th then, so. And then, we did get Bridge 39 all completed, so that was a community crossing grant, so I'll get all the documents sent in for that. We did make final payment on that, that's why my claims was 500 and some thousand, because 138 of it was that, so. That's all I have unless you do. I'm gonna stick around for Jill's thing here.
Okay. You're confident we've got all the salt product we need to?
We got like 1,000 ton right now, and then, of course, we went to agreement contract with the lowest bidder back in July, so.
Okay.
I think we estimated we need another 1,500 tons, so we should be fine.
Any problems this year, supply chain?
Not right now, and like, that's one thing when we do that contract back in July and August, I forget now when it was, that we pretty much will get that amount. They pretty much say they have to give us that, so we should be fine. I don't go on the state bid because the only thing with the state bid is, in the fine line, it says like the state will get their salt first, then the locals get the. So if we get into a major salt problem towards the end of the year, you might not get your salt kind of thing. So I'm usually not too many, maybe $1 or $2 off a ton what the state bid is. So at least I get it. So I've been down that road before, read them, get it.
Not good.
Thank you, David.
Did you get anywhere with, what was her name?
No, I tried about 15 times and I emailed Mary to get her number, make sure I was dialed the right number.
Yeah, I don't have her number either.
She's got a real weird number, like a 419.
I gave it to Mary. She was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still trying, so.
All right.
Thank you for that too.
Yep.
All right, we are ready to move to old business, and our treasurer, Timothy Griffith, is with us. And ask her to come back as we're dealing with this proposal for mobile home processing fee ordinance.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, thank you for meeting me again with the processing fee for the mobile home ordinance. And I was just wondering if you guys had maybe come to a decision today on whether you would like to move forward with that. I was able to get a letter into the council and get on the agenda with them Wednesday evening, so that it's prepared.
I've got a couple of comments towards this. I've given it some thought, and I did have concern that we were kind of nickel and diming our constituents a little bit. However, they're the one asking for the service, and it's not costing other constituents for their request. So I personally, at this point, don't have a problem. $15 to take care of your office administrative side of transferring things and doing the record keeping that you need to do. So I personally don't have, and I'll just go on record with that.
Good. I didn't know if you had wrestled with that over the last couple of weeks or not. And I tend to think the same thing, that it is for a personal service. So.
Yeah.
Other thoughts, comments, questions?
Chair, ready for a motion?
We would need an ordinance number.
Number 8.
2022.
And I would make a motion that we pass ordinance number 8.
Second.
Motion to pass ordinance number 8, establishing a processing fee for mobile home transfer and moving permits by Green County Treasurer. You have a motion, Mr. Wright, second, Mr. Burton. Any other discussion or statements?
What's the effect? Is this effective January 1?
Um,
That's what the ordinance says.
Yes, be it further ordained that ordinance shall become effective January 1st, 2023. That would give the council time to review it and make a decision, hopefully Wednesday. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 8, 2022 would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, it is carried.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming back.
Have a good day.
Righty?
Are you guys gonna sign that today, or are you waiting on the council act?
I think it's fine for us to sign that today.
I've got one here that you guys could sign. I plan on taking this to the council meeting Wednesday night.
They got the original. That'd be great. Justin, on Gas City Township Public Library appointment.
Checking back to see if you have made a decision for Gas City Mill Township Public Library Board appointment. The two recommendations, one was from current library director for Kathy Mormon. The other one came away from Dennis Banks, Mill Township trustee for Nikki Gosser.
So we had two recommendations and one coming from the library director, the other from the trustee. I don't know if you gentlemen have a preference or not. Anything, Mike?
I think what was that second name?
Nikki Gosser, that came from the trustee, and the other recommendation was Kathy Mormon, come from the library director, the current.
I don't have a preference.
My only comment would be, Ms. Vermillion, who's the library director, was the one who submitted the name of Teresa Fratis.
She submitted Kathy Mormon. Teresa is the current one
Oh, I'm so sorry.
that we're replacing.
Gotcha. I would recommend that we go with library director's choice. I think evidently she feels good about bringing her on as a protege, if you will, through the library board. That, if there's no other discussion on that. And again, her name was what again?
Kathy Mormon.
Fortunately, I don't know if either one of them, but with a recommendation from the library director, I would lean more towards that way.
Yes.
Would you care to make that a motion? sir?
I will make that a motion. I would move that we appoint Kathy Mormon to the Gas City Mill Township Public Library Board.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Wright, Kathy Mormon, second, Mr. Burton. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and Kathy has been appointed. Ready to go with Mr. Stevenson. We've got an update, and then we've got you under new business as well, so.
Thank you. I know that your report made a presentation to you some time ago. I'm kind of here to give you an update and also to ask for money. I would warn you up front. Essentially, the situation is the airport is getting to the point where they're desperately in need of doing something about the sewage.
Oh.
The problem out there is that system was probably put in 30, 35 years ago. And at that time, the only usage for that system was pretty much just the terminal. The trouble now is constantly kept adding on to that. You know, you've added the hospital service, which has 4 people now living there 24 hours a day to run that helicopter. But what's even making a much bigger strain is, you know, they first started high school classes out there in aeronautics. And now they're starting college ones. IWU's there and Taylor's going to be providing some too. And so now all of a sudden you've got a bunch of kids there who are there frequently. And obviously that's expanded the system quite a bit. They've started actually having some problems with septic now. But the other problem is just, of course, you know, that airport is used heavily by like General Motors. but it's also used by county. Avis has a plane station there. Martin Woodmark uses it frequently, Walmart uses it frequently. It's like, I was out there probably about 7 or 8 weeks ago, and the CEO of General Motors flew in General Motors plane, which is a huge plane. And I'm thinking about at the time, I thought, this is gonna be great. She comes in here and asks to use the bathroom, we send her outside and use the porta potty. It's not gonna make a very good impression. And that's the problem. Now, the cost for taking it out there, and the trouble is, when we started, it was $1 million. Now, after the pandemic and shortages, now up to 1.8. So it may be higher than that. We'd like to be able to, the airport board likes to bid this out in the spring, but to do that, obviously, there's got to be the commitment of the funds. Meeting last week, the utility board said they can come up with $500,000 toward it. Obviously, the city's going to have to contribute. We're also looking at, I talked with Steve Smith, who was at this meeting. The TIF in Marion next year, in 2023, will for the first time have some excess funds. Well, they had a little this year. It's like 400,000 this year. Next year, they'll have more. It's going to be over $1 million. So, I mean, they've already committed to some other projects, but nobody's on board that they can also contribute toward this amount. Obviously, we'd like to have, well, we only have to have the sewer. The city would prefer the sewer to water. The water goes up to about $3 million. So as a practical matter, city wants the water, they just have to come up with the money to pay for it. It's just that simple.
So is that combined, the 3 million,
Yeah.
with water and sewer?
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And it would make sense for them to put water in at the same time so that they have services that are available, you know, in that direction south of the city. But again, from the airport standpoint, we just really have to have the septic system because we can operate off a well, need be. Then if the city wants to add that, because it's obviously a lot cheaper to do it if they do it at the same time than it is to come back later and dig it all back up again. But I see that as more of a city issue at this point. If they want to do it, they're going to figure out how to come up with that extra $1 million eventually, 1.21. So what I was trying to do is to put together a package, and we've got 500 right now from the utility. What I'd like to see would be if the county would do 500. Then it'd be up to the city and the TIF to come up with another $800,000. Or again, if they want to do the whole thing, they'd have to come up with a couple $1 million. So that's what we're trying to do. If you do that, I was looking, that we do it the same way we would do it with Gas City, because I drafted that agreement, obviously, which was none of the money's paid out now. The agreement just simply commits the money to the project if, number one, the bids come in and the reasonable enough level, we can do it. And two, that all the rest of the money's been committed from the city and TIF. If we don't have it committed from them, because obviously the city's got to step up. I mean, they've got a big part of this whole picture. I know it's a city airport, but it's a practical matter. It's a county-wide usage. But if they don't come up with it, then obviously the county pays nothing. Because I think that's the only way it can work. And I think, you know, everybody's got to participate or it's just not going to happen. But the only reason for the additional press about trying to do something now is trying to bid this out to start work in the spring. But obviously we can't bid it out unless we have the commitment to time. So that's why I'm here.
So, American Woodmarks, you said the player out there, is Gas City participating in this at all? Have you approached Gas City?
The mayor said he was going to see if they would be willing to put any additional funds in there, though. I think it's a practical matter. That's not likely. They've got that auditorium or wherever it is they're building out there. They've already come to you asking for money to try to do that. So I think it's going to be hard pressed for them to, if they contribute, it's not going to be a kind of significant contribution that's got to happen for this to occur. But I mean, if you even look at the tax dollars, look at the tax dollars for American Woodwork and Avis and General Motors, and there's TLC has a plane out there. I mean, there's a whole long list of companies which, you know, are based either in the city and or in the county, but of course, the county gets money from those manufacturing in the city too. So there is, you know, it's a pretty sizable base that uses that airport. And I don't know how you run an airport very effectively if you don't have a freaking system. When they got this, when they put that septic in, I represented them back then, we had double the time getting it approved. The city had an original plan done by an engineering firm and the state turned it down. It's gonna be much more difficult now, I think, again, because of the mushrooming usage out there on it.
Just another thought or question, and I don't know how this would work, Mr. Brickworth. Can private funds come into this as well? In other words,
These
these,
donated monies of some kind. I don't know why it couldn't.
I mean, I'm looking at the names that you're mentioning and things, and they have a lot deeper pockets than what we do. Is that something that we could approach private investors who want to use the airport? I mean, our airport's awesome. I mean, you know, good for Jim McKinney and the team out there and winning the Aviator Award for the year. The aviation thing, the award that he won. But in the same token, like I say, you know, it's a pretty tall order. And the 500,000, where would those funds come from? Again, I'm kind of new and see one of our new commissioners coming in, you might want to know the same thing.
I'm assuming that Phil's referring to ARP monies is what
I think that's the only place.
I guess what he's referring to. And I guess my thought there is, again, I would probably suggest having a financial consultant kind of look at that with you and make sure that he doesn't see anything that's a red flag problem or whatever, but if you decide to pursue that possibility.
We have segmented our commitment on funds. Really, Gas City is the only one thus far that we've used out of that $12.7 million.
Yeah, you can use up to 10 million pretty much for whatever you want to. The other 2 million plus or whatever, that's, you got to be a little more cautious as you fall into some guidelines that, so I mentioned the consultant may want to be somebody you look at to help you with that a little bit. Make sure you're in compliance with federal requirement.
The concept of it, building the team, and I think that we ought to do our due diligence and review that and see if we can't find a way to do that.
The bulk of the expenses on that airport, I mean, we're very fortunate in one regard. The bulk of the expenses that are paid for the improvements out there are paid by federal money. It all comes through FAA grants. The extension of the runway was over $1 million. City didn't have that kind of money either. So most of it's paid. The trouble is, we tried this and the FAA will not pay for sewer or water. That's the one prohibition they have. And so, you know, that's the problem. If we're buying more ground, we're building some other building we had to build, we had to do something with the runway. Matter of fact, there's a grant going on now, which is doing taxiway extensions. Those are literally all 90% paid for by the feds. So those kind of big projects are generally not the problem in the sense if you fit into the guidelines. But this one, they won't pay anything. We tried that repeatedly and they just said no. It's not approved.
And so the water and sewer, and again, I know you're just coming to us for sewer right now because of the first one. Would that take care of Lakeview out that way as well? Or not Lakeview, but
Brookhaven.
Brookhaven.
I know that
Glendale,
Brookhaven.
Glendale, that's what I meant.
I know that Glendale Lake has had problems off and on with
Right.
sites. You know, those would be out there. We talked about that being, you know, at that point, that it would be running by the front. Now, it
Right.
still have to be extended back up in there.
Right.
So it's still a ways to go, but it would get water and sewage out of that in the town for any of those kind of uses. I mean, the hope from the airport would also be that it might help develop some industrial out around the airport. Because there's been some contact to that in the past, but of course, as soon as you tell them we don't have water or sewage, that's the end of it. Now, whether those were developed, whether they're developed in the future, you know, I'm not gonna make promises that I think there's no way anybody can know that in advance, but those would be the potentials down the road. And that's why I think the city's got the ultimate responsibility to come up with a bigger share, because they would have the ability then to use that for other purposes. But if they put water in to be able to use it for places like Glendale Lake, you know, you're talking about them coming up with about $2 million.
Right.
So they would be coming out to the bulk of the share.
So how fast does action need to be taken on this?
Well, no, I expect you just tell me right now, you need $500,000, but,
Yeah, ain't happening.
but I do think it needs to move up to at least something of really being considered seriously because of the fact that if we don't find this in the next 30 days to 6 weeks, it's gonna be too late to turn around and bid it out by the spring. Time you put it off for a year, it seems like the cost jumps up
Yeah.
several $100,000 more.
Yeah.
Just puts it further out of reach is the problem.
Even over the holidays, I think we have dialogue with our attorney and we talk about our financial advisor on the Department of Money and
It's good.
go from there.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
And you don't even have to leave.
I know. Well, the second one, good, David State. Blue Heron, the addition out there, the association is essentially requesting if the county would consider assuming the dedication of those roads. Jim Suter's here with me, who's president of the association. That's why Jim came. We're looking for, those to be taken over by the county. And so we're looking to dedicate those to the county, obviously, assuming the county would accept that, simply for maintenance. I went to David ahead of time and told him about it because I thought he'd want to go out there and look at them, and I didn't want to try to surprise him here, and he did tell me he'd been out to look at them, so he may have a comment. But I did some checking just out of curiosity. Right now, the assessed valuation of the homes which are there is a little over $4.3 million. And there's probably, I'm gonna guess, a third of the lots out there yet that have not yet been built on, so hopefully, and of course, during the pandemic, because everything's happened since the pandemic, it's not a great time for people building houses. But hopefully, as those would fill in, that's gonna go up. The total taxes paid right now is a little over $40,000 in 2022. So it is a significant amount of assessed valuation to the county. And, David, can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was out there and you didn't see any real problem with the streets, is that right? I don't misquote you.
I was gonna say, I went and looked at it the other day and, the streets look in pretty good condition. I think it was probably developed in the early 2000s, if I say, I was like, Phil, I only seen one spot beside a catch basin that looked like it had some deterioration, but it really wasn't that bad. I guess some of, like I talked to Phil a little bit about some of our concerns is, we really don't know. I'd say as long as it's been, it's probably a good base and everything. I don't think there's any, wasn't built properly, but who knows? I mean, but it looks really nice. I guess the only concern I have is with the roundabouts, cul-de-sacs, everything there. And there's no signage. I think we probably, from a legal standpoint, have to put signage if somebody was ever in an accident. They probably come back on the county and say there was no yield signs, or one of them has like a one-way thing. You got to go on the right-hand side. You don't have signage and somebody runs over that. I imagine you'll probably sue the county on that and say that there was not proper notification of a roundabout or anything like that. So that's the only thing I would say is, if you did accept it, we would have to probably put some signage out there to warn motorists, because then anybody in the public could drive back there if they wanted to, kind of thing. So that's my point. The road condition looked fine. Like I said, we only found one spot that was an issue, and I think that would be something we could repair.
Are you concerned that we need to do any other inspections out there at all?
I told Phil, well, one thing I'd like to have is set of plans, kind of know where all the drainage and everything like that goes. I mean, if we ever did have to work on it down the road, it'd be nice to know where everything went. I don't know if the association has a set of plans.
I would assume when that was all platted, that would have been platted out on the plan, which would have been submitted at that time. The plan area plan. I can find them, sure.
So no bridges, no culverts, no,
No, just basically drains down the side. I would say, it's gonna be one of those, if we ever do pave it, we're gonna have to mill it, get it to curb, because it does have curbs all the way around it. So, I mean, that would be something that we'd have to remember that when we do it, to make it right, it'd have to be milled out and then put new asphalt in, but we've got other additions like that, so.
and then, we would, assume the responsibility of snow removal in this area, correct?
Yeah.
That may not even be necessary, because right now the association hired somebody that does it, my understanding, at least initially, they're talking about it, using them just so they get in there real early. But I don't want to say that verbally, because I know how that is. The association runs out of money down the road. It's still not being done, but initially I asked them that, and they indicated initially that was their intent, would be to continue to use whoever private servers they use now.
So in theory, with the paperwork that we have here today, we could actually receive that.
Yes.
I don't want to put words in David's mouth, but I did not hear him objecting about receiving that into the inventory.
I did look, when I looked at it, we'll examine the plat. Again, Dave asked me, and I don't know this obviously for a fact. But the plat itself indicates on there at that time that that the road had been built to county specification. Now, by assuming that they actually did that in construction, well, I am, but it does in fact say that directly on the plat itself. Because I read that myself. When I looked at it.
And this might be the same question, but your recommendation, Mr. White?
Hey, I'm fine with
You okay?
it. Like I said, for to be there that long and only have one little area that's maybe diminished a little bit, I think, the rest of the roadway looked fine, so I don't see any problem. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be one of those, probably in 10 years, we'll probably have to pave it, but that's just part of it, so. I mean, I think it's better to take something that we know that's been there for a while and it's held up for a long time, so it's not like something we got 2 years ago and it's already failed, so.
Just out of curiosity, why would the county want to take it? I'm just gonna ask that question. What's the reason the county would accept that?
I'll help you a little bit on that.
Okay.
You will get a little portion from MVH on it, because that'll go on our inventory. The state keeps inventory of all the roads, and we do get a little bit more money. It's not like millions of dollars.
So yeah, how much more you're talking?
Yeah, but it is a little bit more money towards the highway fund. It's based off the fuel tax and everything else, but you will, instead of like, right now, we're like 798 miles in the county. So it'll probably be closer to 800 or a little over.
This is like 2 miles you're saying, or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not like a bunch, but they will take that inventory into account. And so it will give us a little bit more money. I mean, like I said, it's not gonna be hundreds of dollars every month, but it is probably maybe a couple $100 a year that goes towards the highway. So just for your information on that.
A couple hundred a year wouldn't be too much.
No.
That's the way you spend it.
That's what I'm saying is, it's, I guess you get a little.
I'm just curious as to why I asked the question. I mean,
Yeah.
what's in it for us if we do that?
It's a good point.
And if you're gonna expect more development because of it, maybe you do it, but if it's just there and it's not gonna really give you anything else, why would you accept that responsibility? But I'm just throwing the question, that's your
Yeah.
decision, not mine.
Great question.
There's still about a third of those lots though that aren't, there's about a third of the lots that at this point have not been
Right,
buildable.
understand.
So, like right now, you're taxed a little over 40,000 a year, like I said, assessed value is 4.3.
But like at this point, do they done it without the county owning it?
Yeah.
Now, if you're gonna say if they would fill it now more rapidly and completely because of them doing it, then that'd be a reason to consider it. But
Well, I don't think it's probably, I could say fill up more rapidly. I think that would not be true. I do think the problem, however, is going to be at some point, if those do need repair and the association doesn't have the money and the roads start running down, it will in fact
Terry.
decrease the chances for you having that kind of.
understand.
Yeah. And I was gonna bring that up too. I mean, they're, $40,000 in taxes a year. Taxpayer. Be a good thing. to provide. And you're thinking probably 10 years down the pike, maybe we need to do something like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would say probably 10 years down the pipe, we'll have to pave it all again, but
$400,000. You know, I mean, it's not additional money.
Well, and the money you're gonna use to pave it doesn't come from your property tax dollars.
Okay, right,
That's a totally separate set of money.
okay, all right.
but if you want to give it to the highway, we'll take it.
Go to the highway.
You won't let me. Just trying to help out.
Yeah. We,
Know the rules before you help out.
there you go, there you go. I appreciate that.
Tend to think that developments come into being, eventually we need to take those. Yeah. That would be where I stand, is I think we should probably receive it. That's what I'm thinking.
Chair, ready for a motion?
Sure.
I would make a motion that we receive the deed of dedication, public right of way for the bluffs at Blue Heron.
Second.
What ordinance number would that be?
Number 9.
Number 9? We would receive.
Including, ordinance 9.
Very good. Questions on that, Mike?
No.
Discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor would say aye.
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 Thank you.
Carried. Now, don't get excited, but we are now competing with Hamilton County because Grant County has a roundabout now.
Well, we actually have 3.
Our inventory just tripled.
And we're not responsible for the fountain, right? Okay, I meant to ask that question before I,
Excludes out the fountain, it excludes out even in the other 2 rounds.
okay, all right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Chris Cunningham is not with us, is he? Okay. Would you just remind us about that, Justin, with you?
He had previously requested and you pre-approved approval from the commissioners to allow pay upon receipt for all community corrections billing that occurs prior to 12/31/22. It's their.
It's kind of a housekeeping thing that we do request. Yes. So I did pre-approve that, and
On December 7th.
if gentlemen are willing, we would need a motion to ratify that pre-approval for community corrections.
Motion be ratified.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burton, second, Mr. Wright. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Aye. It is carried. Resolution to remove properties from tax sale. You have that in your packet, gentlemen, as we're moving toward that. There were a couple of properties of interest. We have noted parcel number 1, parcel number 2, currently at 400 South Miller Avenue. I think with the old Dana plant, and so I'd like to remove that and work with some of our locals to see if there may be a better use of that property. So I would present that to you to identify those 2 parcels and remove them from the tax sale. That would be my recommendation.
Yep. Chair, ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll need a resolution number on this.
Number 6.
Mr. President, I move that we pass resolution number 6 to remove the parcels described from the tax sale.
Second.
Motion with support, Mr. Wright, second, Mr. Burton. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right? It is carried. Next up, Township Board Member Appointments. Is Pam Harris with us? She is not. We've been presented a unique situation in that we have appointments, or we have vacancies that are termed, I believe, for Pleasant Township, Liberty Township, Richland Township. And Jim, are you familiar with this?
I am not, no.
I understand that there's a process in which you need to notify us in writing maybe about this so that we can have a special session to,
Yeah, no one is saying to me about this at all, so I'm
Okay.
totally unfamiliar with what they're asking, what's going on.
I
Initially.
spoke with Kyle on Thursday or Friday, and someone was going to reach out to you.
And no one has yet.
Okay, so I'll circle back with the attorney. Something about you need to provide notice to the commissioners. So, to my understanding, this is a little outside my wheelhouse, but it looks like you may have to call a special session.
I believe that if we act as a board, we have to do it before December 31st.
That's correct.
And so we'll need to work with our attorney and the auditor to make the formal announcement, I think, to us, and then we call for the special session. So we'll go on from here, and if you will work with Kyle and see what we need to do, but there is a very real possibility that we'll need probably a week from Friday to go into a special session to make some appointments. All right. Township Board Area Plan Commission appointment. We've had a couple of different requests coming out of Area Plan, and so I'm open to discussion on that right now, gentlemen. We have a commissioner's appointment to make
Yes,
to Area Plan.
so my understanding is, there are a couple people interested in that, is that correct?
Yes. Currently serving Myron Brinkle, and Bob Highway has also expressed interest.
I would, since this is our appointment, I would believe, I would like to see a change there and appoint Bob Hiley to the APC.
You have discussion, or you already,
Just discussion.
so we can discuss?
I'm fine with it.
You all right with that, Mike?
Technically, we would need a formal motion then to appoint.
Then I will make that motion that we appoint Bob Hiley to the APC for 2020. And that length of time. What is the length of time on APC?
I think it's 2 years. We have a motion.
Okay, I'll second.
There is support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. 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 It is carried.
And I would like to thank Myron Brinkle for his years of service on the board.
Right. Let's go on to Coronavirus Response Act.
Yes, so the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, I'd like to make a recommendation that we put a sunset on the current policy. So currently, we have been paying vaccinated, those that are positive and vaccinated, we are allowing leave up to 10 days a year. I think we're to the point, whether this is post-pandemic or whatever, we need to start treating this alongside every other illness. We don't have a specific policy for RSV or the flu or anything of that nature. That would be my recommendation. If you gentlemen would like to continue with a policy, suggestion would be to tailor that to CDC recommendations.
traditionally, as I think Justin said, we don't have specific policies for flu. We don't have specific policies for RSV. And I think that as we as a country have moved through this in 2-year process, I do believe it's smart for us to sunset this. And then if we have some superbug that jumps back in with COVID or another thing, the federal government's probably going to direct us again anyway.
Right.
So I see some wisdom in us sunsetting this at the conclusion of this year.
I agree with that.
Would either of you be interested in making a motion that we sunset our COVID policy at the end of this year?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Burton and second, Mr. Wright. Discussion? All those in favor would say aye.
I,
Aye, it's carried. Thank you. All right. Are you aware of other business that we need to do under new business, gentlemen?
You'll let us know on the special meeting. We have to have one, correct?
Yes, we'll get an email going with our attorney, with Mr. McWhorter, as well as Pam Harris, who has kind of alerted us to this. And we'll see what we need to do.
Okay.
We'll try and keep that thread going. So, but I'm just anticipating if this does happen the week of Friday, we'll have a short special session. All right, this finishes up our new business. We have public comments. I see a couple folks in the room that would like to address the Board of Commissioners. We'll ask you to step up to the podium, present your name, your address, and concerns or comments. Feel free to come up. I saw you back there, Mr. Rogers. I figured you were gonna come see us.
Yep.
How are you today, sir?
How y'all doing?
Good.
I just need permission again to put the poster boys out there.
We have from time to time allowed Mr. Rogers to display poster boards as he stays on the courthouse and has control of those. We don't allow them to be unmanned, so, but he wants the permission. And I think last time we did a 2-week window, gave me the opportunity for 2 weeks to do that.
And the posters are about,
I'll let you describe that since this is the first time.
I'm
Mr.
new.
Wright.
So poster board revealing who I am, what I am, and what I'm here for. They 8 feet tall and 3 feet wide, and I got 10 of them I need to set out there.
and what's the content of the poster?
It's a lot of them there. I'm revealing who I am. I'm a prophet, I'm a messenger from God, and stuff that I'm be making the changes that I need to make.
Yeah.
But if you want me to, I can bring you a picture of it. I forgot to bring it.
That's all right. So we've done this in the past?
Yes.
Mr. Burton. Okay.
As anyone who asks for a demonstration right, we give them that opportunity.
Gotcha.
Mr. Rogers has done that. And the only qualification is we set a 2-week period and he has to be there maintaining and manning those posters. So
Gotcha.
they're not freestanding.
Can I get a first name?
It's Dwayne Rogers.
Dwayne Rogers, 3545 South Boots.
Thank you.
So I do actually have a concern. You tried to set up, I believe it was last week. They have wooden frames. And he referenced that they're 8 feet tall. You have sandbags. They were actually falling over in the wind.
But the sandbag wasn't in place.
I'm just looking at it from a liability perspective. It's concerning.
Did we do that did you do that on the sidewalk? Is that where you had it?
Yes.
I would think as long as we had, access egress, people can walk by without,
It's enough for,
okay.
I make sure of that.
And then the dates that we would have these up?
I'm expecting Wednesday, no later than Wednesday. And I'll do it from the first.
So they would be up? I'm just thinking about,
When I leave Italy,
yeah, no, I'm just thinking about the Christmas displays and all that kind of stuff that we've got around. It's gonna be after that, or, right, it's after the first of the year?
No, I'm expecting to be out there Wednesday.
So you're thinking that you would do that, beginning the 22nd?
It was big 19,
Yeah, yes, sir.
21st.
20th.
the 22nd.
Yeah, 21st is Wednesday, if that's what he's
Yeah,
saying.
for 21st.
January. Sorry. So again, as he's out there on the square, but when, at the end of the day, he takes that all down and.
Right. Done it in the past, if you guys have done that and you're comfortable with it. Support that.
I have no objection.
So you need a motion for that?
I think it would be proper for us to move that beginning on Wednesday, that we have a 2-week frame.
Yep.
Work for Mr. Rogers.
And I will make that motion.
And I'll second.
Motion, Mr. Wright, second, Mr. Burton. Any discussion? All in favor would say aye.
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 So if I change my mind and start tomorrow, would it be okay too?
I don't think we're going to complain about a Tuesday versus a Wednesday. No, sir.
Oh, so, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name's Richard Kibbe, 2804 Walnut Way. I live in a small addition, Dunn's Woods, just off of 15 north of town. And we recently had our addition paved this fall. We learned once again, having known this at least a number of years ago, that all of the addition is not in the highway inventory of roads. So I'm requesting that you consider adding, it's about 400 feet. So it's down. I did a hand sketch map of it just so you could orient where Dunn's Woods is located and then get a layout of our little addition. The highlighted portion is currently in the highway inventory. And the small portion that extends actually extends north, Walnut Way, is about 400 feet, the best I could step it off. And that's not in the inventory. David's probably been out there fairly recently and looked at that addition. So my request is that the commissioners would consider adding that 400 feet into the inventory of the county.
Is there a neighborhood association or a homeowners association?
There's not.
And I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm just assuming, and that gets us in trouble, I know. I'm assuming that you would consider that right now a private drive. That's the way
That's the
highway's currently looking at it. Okay.
There are actually 4 households that the inventory does not reach. Mine is, I've indicated where my house is, right there, straight east of where the previous to where it stops. But there are 4 entrances, 4 households beyond where the county currently takes responsibility.
So if I may, since I don't call you Richard, Dick, what do you think?
Yeah.
We at least talk with our attorney about this. 'Cause again, my thought, and we haven't been able to talk with David, we have to have access and egress to your property, so at least we should have a discussion on that. And let's see where that's
As far
going
as
to take us.
as those personnel that are involved there letting you come in.
Yeah. Because there's no other access to the east.
No, it's all dead end. Yeah.
Okay.
Both directions of Walnut Way, dead end.
Question for Mr.
Any other
White.
questions?
The road leading back that way. What kind of condition is that in?
Honestly, I don't really remember because I didn't go that far back because I just kind of went where our inventory stopped and then I didn't even drive back in there because it's for somebody's driveway and I didn't really want to get, so. I
The
did,
owners actually put a sign up there that says private drive,
yeah, so
because he didn't want people coming down into where he lived, so, he put a private driveway sign up out there, so,
So, Mr. Kibbe, have you talked to the other three owners?
Yes,
And
yes.
they're on board?
yes. They all are working, or they probably could have been here to help me this morning, but the other three homes that are affected, are all employed during the day.
Gotcha.
Even the one that had the private drive sign up, he's on.
He doesn't live there anymore.
Oh, okay.
He moved.
So there, okay.
He put
there
the
we go.
sign up, Dale Irwin, you might know Dale Irwin.
oh,
You know Dale?
Yeah.
Dale's one who put the sign up down there for a while. He actually flipped two houses down there that's really improved in mine. I'm not Phil Stevens, so I don't know what our property tax generation is, but it's nothing like Blue Heron Lake, but a lot less street too.
see, the problem you gotta watch with these is if they haven't been developed and we go take it in, we're gonna have to put quite a bit of money in to get them up to even pave them. That's the quote issue you have is if you got trash trucks running back there and everything else that,
If we don't have strong base to break up and,
yeah,
you know,
that's what you gotta watch is taking that in the inventory, then you gotta watch how much it's gonna cost to get it graded up to even put asphalt on it kind of thing. Is it asphalt?
It
now?
does have
I was gonna
asphalt.
say, I
It's
thought-
not in the best of shape though. It would have to be probably looked at and worked up a little bit to bring it up to, currently there aren't any trash trucks that go back in our addition at all. There's really not room for them. Get turned around. There's no place for them to turn around.
I suppose that would be another thing we'd have to see is whether we can actually, is there a slope on that at all?
There's pretty good turnaround gravel areas at each end of the Walnut Way sections there where you could get turned around.
So at present, we're talking about a single,
It's
vehicle.
single lane.
Yes.
It's single lane.
It is almost a drive.
Again, I think, again, we'll do our homework, talk with our attorney, make sure that we know what our requirements are, and then we can get back with Dick and the other homeowners and go from there.
Okay. I appreciate you considering it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, all of you.
You as well.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to express my thoughts. I've served on area plan for 4 years. And the need for a farmer with area plan is very necessary. And I'd like to say, Mr. Bartley and Mr. Wright, you're two of the worst commissioners Grant County's ever had. You have not been forthright on anything. And the best way you guys are operating is if there's somebody that speaks against what's right, you eliminate them. And that's all right. I'll go off the area plan, but I'll be there. And I'll hold you two guys accountable. Because you are the two worst commissioners for farmers in Grant County's ever had. Any comments?
I'll make a comment. So as our appointment, you were supposed to get with us, figure out exactly what we want, just like the other towns that have appointees to it.
I sent you a letter.
Wait. Got the floor. Hang on just a second. And so you told Mr. Bardsley needs to resign. You told me that I didn't know enough about making a decision on this, and I did my homework. And so to me, you're not representing us as commissioners. And so that's my take, and that's the reason I went the way I did. So I felt like I owed that to you. Appreciate your 4 years on there. We got other farmers on that board, and we just needed a change. That's my take.
The reason I said what I did, Steve, about you wasn't qualified to make that decision on draft 4. You were not here when all Grant County farmers were coming to meetings. And all of a sudden you knew enough to make a decision on draft 4, which is the most shit-shod draft Grant County's ever had. And you put that phony meeting together out there at the high school. I mean, that was all set up. You're an open book, Steve. You're an open book.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion. You are an open book and you've done all this phony stuff. You showed Kate's picture and everything. Kate's don't support solar without an ordinance. The drainage board, which Mr. Bartley, you're the chairman of, voted for a 1-year moratorium, saying we got to have time on this before we can accept draft 4. Why didn't you adhere to that before draft 4 was ever motioned? I mean, you just run right over it. The farmers are not considered, not at all. And everything that you've done, Mr. Barnsley, from throwing our soil and water board out, having the inmates come and carry everything in the basement without never meeting with the board or anybody, and still wouldn't meet with it. That was all of our computers, our office desk and everything. And this,
We're not gonna try this, but you and I did meet
yeah, we did meet and you
in
did,
our office upstairs and we finished it.
You've
done.
you never gave me a reason why, right?
Yes, we did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, we did. And we finished it.
What was the reason?
I'm not going to say that public. That's a conversation between you and me, and we're not going there.
You're lying.
No, sir.
You are lying.
We're done.
And I met, we contacted the commissioners or the, you, and asked that you would meet with the Soil and Water Board and tell us why you done that. Did you meet?
I met with you, the president. You know why, and that's it.
We met up there at your office and you never gave me a reason. Not one reason, and you haven't today.
I'm sorry you do not remember that conversation. I remember.
I do, okay, I do remember.
And
I do remember.
like I said, we're not trying this in public. We're not going to discuss this anymore. There are venues to do that, and this is not it. So
You're a coward, Mark, and you need to resign. And Steve, you're following right behind him, and you need to resign also.
gentlemen, I think we're done.
We don't need
We're gonna go into
commissioners
recess. So
like Mark Bardsley and Steve Wright.
Thank you.
thank you for your input, and
And I will be,
wish you well.
I'll be at the area plan meetings as a puppet. And we will hold you two accountable, I'll guarantee you.
Very good. Gentlemen, oh, we have one more. Very good.
Harold King, 707 South Sam Street, Swayze. Mike Burton, thanks for the many years you have put in. Anytime you find someone that is willing to serve, they ought to be recognized and commended. Just like Myron has done an excellent job, very faithful, and I'm disappointed you didn't reappoint him. But you did appoint someone that's more in line with your agenda, and I wish you luck.
Got about 5 minutes left. We're gonna. Go ahead.
Okay, I've spoke too many times. Thank you for hearing me. Mike Burton, appreciate your service. There was one thing you brought up, Commissioner Wright, about when you appoint someone, you expect them to come back, talk to you, get your guidance, how you want them to vote. I don't believe that's correct. I believe American Planning Association guidelines direct people on how they should be board members. And one of the things it states there is that they should make up their own minds.
Hmm.
You should appoint somebody, of course. And you should take into consideration their character and the decisions that they'll be making and the importance to the community that they will be with these decisions. They're the ones going to the hearings. They're the ones listening to the evidence. It's real important that they weigh that evidence and make the decisions. They have to make them on the fly that night, usually. These are important decisions. You place these people in there and you expect them to use their mind and their experiences and do the best they can. And we appreciate that. But as far as coming back to you and asking every question on everything that's going forward, how would you want them to vote? That's not correct. But we consider that. Thank you.
I'll take exception.
Okay,
Oh, wait, I'm not, if
you
you
can
would,
take exception.
I would say this, that, an appointment is supposed to represent the body, the area that they're from. And, I think that, calling somebody out to resign and this and that, I mean, that's above and beyond, hang on just a second. A kosher type setting. I also know that you're not supposed to have conflict of interest and you're not supposed to show bias, which both boards, the BZA as well as the APC, has shown that all throughout this process on solar. And so I would take exception to your organization or your board, as well as the APC, that the bias and the conflict of interest has reared its ugly head in both of your boards. And for that reason, I think there's some problems there. And that is one of the reasons I took the action to replace Mr. Brankel, is because of the conflict of interest and bias. So that's, you can take that for what it's worth.
I would have to say that you are also biased. You were the only person on the board that actually voted for the ordinance. So you have bias in that respect. Everyone comes to a board with some bias or mindset. Some people are highly favorable to residents. Some people are highly favorable to business. That does not mean that they are highly biased. They may vote different ways on different issues. I've seen that on our board. Now, there are a lot of things to consider in solar, taking up productive farm ground, things that we went over quite a bit before you joined the board. But there was a lot of information there. And a lot of people then do get opinions on how they think towards a matter that's coming up. And that's natural. And it's seen on boards all across this state. It's not just unique to Crane County. So anyway, thanks for hearing.
Thank you.
Got about 1 minute.
I have just noticed and read through like the Indiana code that each member on the board, they weigh the welfare of the people, and there's a whole list of things that each individual person has to decide when they make a decision. Health and welfare, and that's all I've read. So I would like for you to show me where, like if you appoint someone where they're just supposed to kind of know what you want and vote that way, because I have never read that at all, but I have read several times, like the board members and what they are to consider on each case. So I would think unless you can't give me that, I think that's wrong. That I think that each individual person takes the community and what they, their own guideline for each vote. And that's how they vote for the welfare of the people in America.
All right, we've come
Can I
to
get a-
our.
Can I get a name, please?
That was Mrs. Hartman. First name,
Julie.
Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we still have the possibility of a special session on Friday, I want to say the 30th. And we will inform the media as soon as we have to do that or not do that. So at this point, again, Mike, thank you for your service. And we look forward to the holiday season. I hope everyone has a happy holiday. And we will declare ourselves in recess. Thank you.
I'll touch base with Cosley again, but Jim's got a certain date.
Let's give us writing. We got 2